No, fantastic. And I see I'm going to be speaking to Jonathan Fine. He's the head of your content and strategy. I'm loving that because well, content is what makes up mostly what the event is made up of, but also it's what we talk about just before and after the event.
The summit brings both the consumer side and the broker side of how these things work now, what the challenges are, and what companies are doing to innovate further and to allow better experiences across the board. So one side, as I said, is consumer and payments, but other is investing. So these are the main things that, in terms of financial services in Africa, are prevalent. And the other is education, because a big part of what we do is to provide top-notch education or market education by analysts, which usually charge a couple of $1,000 for their services when they go into banks. But our event allows, because of the platform, for retail institutional investors to get first-hand account of market analysis by them. So these are the two ways that we try to tackle innovation and education in the markets.
And this question follows, some of it is taken from the previous one. What trends in the African financial industry are you most excited about or that you would look at highlighting?
Yeah, if I had to distill it into a single word, I would say adoption, in the sense of tech adoption. I think the African landscape is ripe for innovation, maybe faster than others in some respects, precisely because in many regions it's much more needed. The infrastructure doesn't always allow traditional solutions to stick. And that's why M-Pesa, if I'm not mistaken, was the first payment startup to really revolutionize the way funds are being transferred. So this track of adoption is very much appealing, and I'm waiting to see. We have on board companies like Binance from the crypto side, Webull from the trading side, MasterCard from the payment side, all of which will share how they see innovation growing, and they will actually do a better job than I am at the event at sharing the data and the stories that they see in terms of trends within the African space.
Absolutely. And I just want you to just tell me, just maybe unpack just a little bit more in terms of the response that you would have had from, let's say, I see the lineup of speakers that you've got. They represent some of the strongest brands within the financial fintech sector, whether it's crypto or digital assets. What's their general view in terms of what the data is showing them with regards to the consumer in Africa and the middle class that's growing and what it means for the future?
Sure. I would say that I will kind of state the obvious, but the most prominent trend is go digital. If you think about the pace of change in Africa in terms of moving from cash only or unbanked. A couple of years ago, there was a big talk about the unbanked population in Africa, but given and thanks to the activity that companies like MasterCard and other innovators, startup community, if you think about Stitch, for example, that started in Cape Town and now making inroads into mainstream finance. So I would say that payments have become way more interconnected. There are still challenges to accept and send and transfer funds across or in between African countries. I presume you experience it much more than I am, but on the fintech side, that's the main thing that we're looking at, and that's the feedback that these companies share with us and with the audience in terms of what they do, what hurdles they still face from regulators, from consumers, from infrastructure in Africa. On the other side, the main side maybe of investment, I would say that the feedback that we have is how much education is important, because on the internet and with influencers, it's very easy to go astray and to buy too quickly into promises of quick riches. And the South African regulator, the FSCA, is very aware of it. And events like our personal interaction with analysts and experts whose opinion, say, is more nuanced and complex. So the feedback that we receive is that it's a good thing that we bring together all the different sides to dialogue to take place and for investors to have a better informed decisions.
It's such an important 2 points that I pick up that you've mentioned. One is the one on skills development, which is education, and the second one is what can be looked at as maybe a significant perception by some of the consumers in terms of how the fintech industry, with the surges of crypto nowadays and digital assets, can be sometimes perceived as a get rich quick, way around things. And so what's your general education, and how would you like to change that perception, or how would you like to maybe, let me say, develop the outlook around those that want to get involved in this field?
It's a good question that we address a lot in our discussions when we curate the agenda and when we put together sessions, and we need to decide who we accommodate and who will not be there. I would say that again, it's within what you said. You can see the profile of the person. You can see the training that he brings. This year we put an effort on verified or valid educators or traders within this space. We have at least two chief or key analysts that have also published books about the financial markets, and their books will be available to some extent for the audience as well. And we have training coaches, as it is being called. So the emphasis this year is more on academies and people whose job basically is to train and disillusion maybe investors about what financial markets is or are, how they work, what you can and mainly what you cannot do. So that would be the focus, to get the right people to teach the fundamentals of the trading setup. There is a lot of focus on discipline, on long-term activities, on research. So these are the aspects that we see as most important, and our fellow speakers turn it into tangible feedback and insight that the audience can pick up.
You're absolutely correct. Our speakers brings me to my next question. We're looking at a very high caliber of speakers that you've brought up in terms of brand presence. There's Luno, there's Tradepedia, there's Equity, all the way to Hidden Road Partners, there's ATFX Africa and Binance. Very happy to see, and MasterCard, of course. Coming to yourself, I would imagine as a content strategist, what can you tell us about the work that goes into getting this kind of mix of professions and brands into your speakers package?
Good question. I always say that curating an event is kind of like having an avocado. It's very raw for a long time, and then all of a sudden it's very ripe. You need to get things done fast. So when you start a couple of months before the event, or even a year, depends, you start shooting emails, you start narrowing down the options, you get into conversations with the people and the companies that you've mentioned, and you're very quick to, it seems like your trouble in life is that you don't have enough speakers, and then somehow the miracle happens and you have almost too many, and you need to be selective and find creative way to accommodate various speakers and various companies. And there are a lot of moving parts for us with partners and as I said, niches, because the investing thing is not exactly as the fintech side, so it's a balancing act. But I will get to that later as well, I think. But let's say that I'm a servant of several masters, but the first of those is the audience, because my job is to deliver a valuable proposition for anyone who is coming to the event. So naturally, these companies and these executives are in a position to do that, to deliver just that. They have a bird's eye view of the industry, and they have a lot of data sets to look at, because a company like MasterCard, if the regional manager or the director of Africa at MasterCard has seen a lot in terms of adoption and millions, I guess, of trades, infer from. And the same goes for XNES, equity, and Holborn Assets, for example, who's the chairman of the committee, will provide quite unique perspective on the markets. So again, it's the balancing act of topics and of the services you want to provide to your audience.
I love how you, every other word, every time you mention the word audience, which is what at the end of the day, I would imagine, as somebody who works with content, that's your final testing ground. Those are the people that are there to tell us whether we're doing the right thing, something is a success or not. And what can you share for our audience, for them to expect at this year's FMAS?
It's kind of really up my alley, that question. So the audience can expect several things, I guess, by order of magnitude. The first would be a well-rounded set of content sessions to inform their opinions and their understanding of investment, of the world of investment, from the very basics. But since it's in Cape Town, it goes much deeper into how to work with AI. We've asked XNES chief analyst to just show us what he does with AI, not talk about it, but show us how his screen looks when he trades and what AI does there. Another notable session for the audience out for is we bring together several very experienced investors to share their stories. It's pretty much, as we said before the recording, my goal is to have the best speakers doing the best conversations on stage, because many times what happens is on-stage speakers get vague or tend to make broad statements, and then they go to their beer tap and to the networking, the post-event networking, and they start telling really cool things. And I tell them, having seen both, hey, that should have been on stage. So that's what we do. So in our event, I ensure that the moderators and the speakers know that what I want is anecdotes, telling anecdotes, stories of concrete things that where they succeeded or failed at. And for investors and traders, everyone has their own memorable trade. So they can definitely expect the event goers, the audience, to hear from very impressive people about their own experiences in that respect. And obviously the gathering, the meetings, there are people that I could meet only in events, even though I have LinkedIn and everything. So events are the best way to meet new people that can help you, again, grow both professionally and personally. Some of the most interesting people that I've met were from and events just like the FMAS.
Fantastic. Well, can you share, I can tell you're a good storyteller actually just by listening to you. Can you share maybe a success story from a past Finance Magnates event that you're particularly proud of?
Yeah, the problem with me is that you need to stop me from telling stories, not to get me to tell them. So far I've shown restraint. Yes, I definitely have several such moments, having done several events. I would tell one, really. It was in the most recent London summit, the event in London in November. We had a female leadership panel, and there's always a question if you want to do a dedicated panel about female leadership and inclusion. We can get to inclusion a bit later or not, or whether you prefer to incorporate more female leaders in different sessions. So we went with female leadership panel out of the understanding that it's an important topic as such. And I happened to be moderating it because the moderator was not feeling well. So I was summoned the evening before to do that. And it had fair audience, fair attendance.
Yeah.
But you could see that though he came, we were actually very keen and like asked questions and took notes. And one attendee in particular sat on the first row, and you see that she's taking notes like enthusiastically. And after the session, she came to the speakers and said, I was asking myself if I want to remain in financial services, in my work in finance, because as a female, there are several challenges. But after hearing this panel, I'm going to do. So thank you so much for the inspiring session. And events is a numbers game. We have thousands of attendees, so it's quite rare to see a particular single one that can share the impact that your work has done. My personal moment of pride, I guess.
Great, man. Great, surely. Now, what measures, Africa, just a little bit looking into the future, Africa has got the youngest generation of or amount of young people, which bodes for a good long future for Africa. Now, when you look at the correlation between that and the insurgence of AI, blockchain, them playing roles in the future of finance in Africa, what would you say is your outlook with regards to those two significant effects?
So, in as much as AI is concerned, I think that it's a double-edged sword that the users need to learn how to use intelligently. On the one hand, I can no longer imagine my workday or my approach to anything without AI. But on the other hand, I also see the problems in it and the shortcomings that using AI as an only, let's say, executor of tasks is posing, and it will only go stronger. Currently you have AI agents only in the beginning, but if like in 2 years from now your AI will find for you the best tickets to the event, to the airplane, and buy it for you, you need to employ judgment and know how to work with it. Visa will also attend the event as speakers has just launched their AI agentic capacity that will ultimately allow your AI to purchase things for you. So that's a great area to explore the limitations of AI or not, or the lack of limitations. So that's one thing that I would think of. In terms of blockchain and other innovation, I'm not sure it will get to the end user. I mean, for the users themselves, the mechanisms or what goes down under the hood of the financial system is not as important. So I would say act cautious, employ cautiousness when exploring new financial products.
Absolutely. When it comes to the word caution, I have to bring in this question about regulation. And what measures is Finance Magnates taking to address regulatory and compliance issues that we also found that are very critical to the African financial sector?
Yeah, it's a valid question that keeps us busy from the content to other aspects of the event. So first and foremost, the event is not a regulated entity in the sense that we don't solicit any deposit or something. It's not. I mean, some events are wilder than others, but this event is strictly for informational purposes, much like this conversation. So I wouldn't say that we are within any regulatory supervision. However, that said, needless to say, we want the event to be as compliant and as helpful for traders and for investors, and so it goes without saying that our partners and our clients are mostly FSCA regulated. Others are maybe the process, and we dedicated a lot of attention to precisely these questions: what make brokers or other providers in the financial space credible, both with regulatory jurisdiction and beyond that. We have a quite fascinating panel discussion with people from various corners of the industry discuss just that. Last year we had a speech by the regulator, by the FSCA, and the panel, we call it it's the trust stupid. Now I think you're too young to get the reference. George Bush Sr.'s campaign was it's the economy stupid. That was what won his election bid, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm old enough to remember that. So we called it it's the trust stupid. And it's true, because in Africa precisely, where the market is young in some places, it's very easy to get duped or misled into doing things you shouldn't. And that's why the FSCA is very clean and very aware of this, and has just produced regulations about what financial educators are and are not allowed to do. And is squarely sits with what they allowed and should be doing. So we take very seriously regulation, both in abiding ourselves as much as we need to, but more so in informing the audience, industry, and consumers about how regulatory changes affect their work or their trading.
Fantastic. And then I just want to find out, what is your sentiment? What would you say the growing middle class and the upper middle class should be excited about fintech innovation in our days and all the innovations that are happening within the finance sector, looking at digital assets and fintech? Why should they be excited? What are the things to look forward to?
It's a great question. It will entail more than this conversation to give a full answer. However, I would say that we alluded to it at the beginning, the rebundling or the putting together several financial services in one place, that's the big movement, I would say. The fact that you can buy your ticket to the event with the same app that you pay for your supermarket and hit the bus, but also check your pension fund, invest in a currency if you want. That seems to be where the future goes. There is a big battle in the tech scene for the super app and the wallet that will allow all this to happen, and we're already halfway there. At least if you think about if you forget your mobile at home, I can't do shopping. I can't rent a bike like the city bike. It's via mobile. Obviously, I can't contact people and so on. But if I have a call from the bank, I can't invest money or take money out. I can't send money to other people as well. All of these activities are happening via a single device with a single tap on a button. So 5 years back, I had to do several activities to do each of these. So I think the future still goes to the rebundling of financial services all in one place. In China, it's already there with the WeChat app. Africa also with M-Pesa, and the innovation beyond the SMS-based technology is there. Europe is also battling for creating a single super app. So I would say that that will be the main point, to look at how to reimagine what you can and cannot do with your funds at any given moment.
Fantastic stuff. This brings me to my last question to you, and it's about facilitating networking and business opportunities, for the attendees in the Southern African region. What's that like for you, and what were some exciting things there?
I would say the exciting thing is the ability to do it. South Africa is among the most recent places where we added the event. We started in London with editions in the Asia Pacific, and we for many years work in Asia as well. And Africa was a pioneering thing for us to do. And the reason we wanted to be here, or there, I should say, is precisely the excitement that you pointed to in with the world's youngest continent, and what I said about adoption. And we have demand from clients. As simple as that they want the envelope or the platform that we provide in other places to be present in Africa. And that's the sentiment we get from many low industry providers as well. We've just received an email from someone in Nigeria asking if we want to collaborate on bringing the FM events to Nigeria. One of our speakers is fervently advising that to explore smaller events in smaller places around the continent. So I think that what we can offer is very much I don't know if in need is the word, but in anticipation at least in South Africa. So we're delighted to have the opportunity to do that, and the feedback that we've received so far pretty much confirms that.
Absolutely. Well, can you tell me what's the exciting thing about South Africa? I think it's your third time now here. What's the one thing that you'd say is the standout for you about this country?
Interesting question. It may sound odd, but the energy of the people that I talk with. I mean, I've been speaking with people from pretty much all over the world because events are global and I have contacts throughout the world. But somehow there is this tone or this excitement with the people from South Africa. I can't quite put my finger on, but you somehow get this vibe of let's do things, of let's get things done. And with the yeah. So the South Africa, this draw, this thing, even the way you guys talk, there's something energizing in it. I get when I finish many of the conversations with other places, it's like, oh man, I have a whole day now. But after speaking with several, and I noticed it because it's across the board, it was not a single case. After finishing a call with someone from about Johannesburg or Cape Town, it was like, okay, let's do this. Because the conversation is, yeah. So the energy, in a word.
Jonathan, thank you so much for this. We're looking forward to the FMA's Cape Town 2025. And any last words from your side?
Hey, thank you for the opportunity and the talk. I've noticed the variety of people you talk with. I went through our past episodes. So between lessons from the forest to AI from Italy, I think we are in a good spot. And B, we're looking forward to host investors and fintech professionals. And I believe we have something valuable for them.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jonathan. And I wish you guys all the best. And I'll see you guys in Cape Town. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers, man.